If you've been keeping up with news on Deathloop like I have, you'll have no doubt heard by now that Bethesda is incorporating Denuvo DRM into the PC release of the game, at least on Steam. It is currently unknown whether or not the BethesdaNet launcher version of Deathloop will incorporate this controversial software, but as we get closer to the May 21st release date, I suspect we'll be learning more info about that. However, the fact that Denuvo will be a part of Deathloop's release on PC has raised some concerns in my head about whether or not the potential of Deathloop will be squashed early. To properly explain, we need to start from the beginning. For those of you who don't know, Denuvo DRM is software that provides anti-piracy protection for most major AAA video games. It is designed to prevent people from cracking the game files and distributing them for free, thereby circumventing the purchase of said game for many. The result of this is that developers lose out on potential sales for their game due to Denuvo's infamous reputation for causing performance problems on a wide range of consumer PCs, including but not limited to frame rate drops, major stuttering issues, increases in load times, and many others. As a byproduct, many gamers are compelled to find pirated versions of these new release games because the issues caused by Denuvo DRM are simply not worth the $60 price of admission to some, and this cycle is continually perpetuated as most, if not all, AAA publishers force Denuvo DRM into their games in order to protect the initial launch sales of their new games, Bethesda being one of those publishers. One of the biggest issues, Denuvo has proven time and time again to be easily cracked and manipulated, as even though some games, like Assassin's Creed Origins for example, took up to 90 days to be cracked and pirated, a game like Rage 2 was cracked on the very day of its release. So it begs the question, is it really worth the hassle and effort to incorporate Denuvo into these games just to protect those initial launch sales? Even though hackers will inevitably find a way to crack the game files, no matter what security measures are put in place. Which leads me to the next point of discussion, which is Bethesda's own history with putting DRM software into their most recent games. Bethesda has a fairly long history with Denuvo, as I mentioned the scenario with Rage 2 already. Doom Eternal also featured Denuvo DRM at launch, but the BethesdaNet version of the game featured a DRM-free version hidden within the game files that was discovered relatively quickly. Some of Arkane's previous games, like Prey and Dishonored 2, also featured Denuvo DRM, and widespread performance issues were reported for both games. However, Bethesda removed the DRM software sometime after launch for all these games I've mentioned, making the experience much better for those who decided to abstain from making a day one purchase. They went through all this effort to prevent potential piracy and protect launch sales, but what did it cost them? Well, you can see that it was one of the factors that most likely led to their games underperforming. Rage 2, Dishonored 2, and Prey being recent examples. Doom Eternal is really the only one in recent memory for Bethesda that was left unscathed, and that game sold like crazy. So what does this potentially mean for Deathloop? It's a brand new IP with so much to gain, and at the same time so much to lose for the publisher as well as the developers at Arkane Studios. My primary concern is that Denuvo's reputation alone will damage the game's sales in both the short and long term. It may also prevent people from seeing just how talented and artistic the developers at Arkane Studios really are, as I would argue that most people slept on Dishonored 2 and Prey, in my opinion, two of the greatest gaming experiences of this past decade, if not of all time. If Deathloop underperforms due to potential performance issues from either optimization or the DRM itself, it would be yet another immersive sim that doesn't capture the attention of the general gaming audience, and it would be yet another excuse to let this incredible subgenre fade into obscurity. Above all else, what I am most concerned about is the future of Arkane Studios depending on Deathloop's critical critical and commercial reception. I don't want Arcane to become a small support studio helping another developer churn out a soulless mishmash of a game while the publisher rakes in the profits. Yeah, I'm talking about a Call of Duty and Activision worst case scenario here. Regardless of what happens after Deathloop releases, I can at least look forward to the launch of the game itself, and if it ends up being the last hurrah for Arcane Studios, I'll be more than happy with what we have been given. These are my general thoughts on the inclusion of Denuvo DRM in Deathloop's PC release, but now I want to know what you think. Sound off in the comments below whether you agree or disagree. Let's have an open discussion. Will you be playing Deathloop on PC when it launches? Are you concerned about what the state of the game might be? Do you believe I'm riling up too many unwarranted concerns? Why or why not? Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed, consider subscribing for more content like this, and be sure to hit that notification bell so you never miss a video. And remember that the outsider walks among us. Thanks for watching.